thanks so much for having a chance to speak with me, man. As we speak, what part of the country are you in? I'm in Toronto. Where are you?
I'm in Edmonton right now.
What's the weather like? I'm just curious because we're trying to get over this. We were just into some great warm weather, and then we started getting into this cold rain and everything. But I'm
Yeah,
hoping, man, the month of May is going to really start kicking in with some great weather.
it's looking all right. It's a little dry, but it's sunny outside right now, so I can't complain.
I've heard you guys had some bad snow during the winter. True or untrue? I just saw your eyes light up.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, we it's it's always rough. The winter's always rough here, but I don't know. I think the summer makes up for it.
I hope so, man. I was there, of course, for the Junos just a while ago. Let me tell you something, man. Edmonton, extremely friendly city. I mean, people just walk by and they don't know who the hell you are, but they smile, they say
Yeah,
hello. And it, of course, being in Toronto, I'm not used to that. But
yeah,
dude, it's cold up there, man.
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I was surprised because when I was heading down to go to the Junos, it was the Monday, and I'm thinking like in Toronto, there's gonna be a lot of people downtown. The weekend is exactly seems like everybody's hiding out.
Unreal. I know when I was last in Toronto, I was there with some friends from Edmonton, and we were walking down the street, and after a certain period, we realized like we are by far the loudest people walking down this street, and we were just having a normal conversation, but we seemed like we were yelling compared to everyone else just walking right by.
Yeah, yeah, and Toronto Tonians kind of don't like that too. Like, why are you
Yeah,
making noise? This is my space, kind of thing. But you know
yeah.
what? We're gonna bring Edmonton and Toronto together with this, talking about your duo. Who's your partner, man? Partner in crime, and where is he?
Luke is my twin brother, and he's in the other room right now.
Oh, fantastic! Well, tell Luke I said hello, please.
Will do.
And I got to tell you something, man. This is the first time I've getting a chance to talk to you and hearing your music and stuff. So impressed. The first thing I thought was Depeche Mode. That was my first thought on the
Right on.
style of music that you guys do. So it surprises me when they say, well, they call you alternative.
Yeah,
It's weird. It's almost like what? They can't figure out what you guys are. I mean, you guys, it's like pop, dance, rock. So they just go, okay, alternative. I don't get
I guess so. Yeah, I guess. I've never bothered to get
it.
my head around those genre things. Like it's some artists it's more obvious, but for us, I guess alternative, why not? Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? No, man, you guys are definitely a throwback to the 80s, which I love with the synths and how you use your instruments and stuff like that too, man. Where did that love begin? Was that from family or what?
I think it was the happenstance of our parents grew up in that era, and then we grew up in the early 2000s where a lot of bands were doing that kind of stuff. So just we didn't even think of it as being necessarily 80s influences, just the kind of stuff we were listening to. Like the bands at that era that we were into were like the Killers and the Strokes and they were all those bands were doing like throwback stuff that kind of pulled that older stuff forward. And I feel like we try to do that, but it's just the stuff we grew up listening to.
You guys are definitely doing it, man. Definitely doing it. When did you and your brother start figuring out that you enjoyed music to the point where you are now? I mean, we talked about the family influence, but even like, dude, I grew up in music, but I knew I was not going to be a musician or anything like that. When did you guys start figuring out? Like, did your parents buy you guys, like toy instruments that turned into real instruments and stuff?
Yeah, almost exactly that. Yeah, we were probably like I mean, really early on, we were getting into bands and like we'd be the kids coming to school and showing kids like, hey, there's this new song, listen to this in like elementary school. And then got like toy instruments when we were probably like 8 or something like that. And then begged our parents to get us a drum kit and a bass guitar. And our friend had a guitar in 6th grade, I think. And then from there, we were just in bands from then on.
When did you guys decide, you know what, forget the other bands and stuff, let's be a duo, let's do this together?
I think 18, 19. It was just, it was the case where the two of us grew up and had the exact same influences. We knew each other's kind of inclinations, worked well together, and just any musicians we were with, it seemed like we were sidelining them, and it just didn't feel. It just never worked. It just never worked that way. And the two of us play multiple instruments, so when we were in the studio recording, we were tracking everything anyway. So we just broke it down to the two of us eventually. Just seemed easier.
When it came to writing music, what was more important, lyrics or the beats? Because love the lyrics, but I just feel like the beats came out first all the time.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Not that I don't care about the lyrics, but I
No,
think I've personally never been moved by a song exclusively because of the lyrics. Even with the great poet like that, Canada kicks out these incredible poet songwriters, but it's still the melody and the rhythm and the vibe of the whole arrangement that hits me first. And then on a third or fourth or fifth listen, you go, "Oh, that's what they're saying, and that's why it's hitting me like that." But yeah, songwriting always first. Yeah.
I'd say you're a throwback because really there aren't a lot of bands, artists who actually do the kind of music where somebody wants to get up and dance. Like I can hear your music in a club. I can hear your music in a bar. And I can hear your music bringing people to the floor and dance. Why do you guys sort of venture into that if you even realized you did? But also, why do you think we don't get enough of that? Because I'm sorry, man, like I don't go to clubs anymore. But when I have, they're always playing the old stuff that I grew up on because that's the only way to bring people up on the floor.
It's true. It is funny. I don't go out that much. We were at a club recently. It's true. They do play mostly old stuff, but I think for us. I think the reason is there's this Talking Heads quote. It's David Byrne who was talking about it. He was saying it's your body knows you like the music before your head does. It's that thing. And I love that. I've always loved that because you'll hear a song in the background and you'll just be tapping your foot and all of a sudden you realize like I dig this. You're not necessarily sitting there going, "Oh, and then the piano does this." You're just feeling the groove. I think there's something, I don't know, there's a simplicity about dance music. It's like it has a purpose and it's when you get it right, you get it right.
Yeah.
Whereas with other kinds of music, it can get really pretentious really quickly in your pursuit of trying to make a song work. With dance music, it just when you got it right. It's when people are dancing.
And I got that. You had a single 2017, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
What's the song called, man? And what was that about? Because
Uh,
that's the one I heard first, and that's the one
20,
that within I would say 3 seconds, I already knew I loved you guys.
is that two words? I get
Yes.
my yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, two words was a funny one. That was the first one that Luke and I wrote when we decided to go just the two of us.
Oh,
And there was something about like dance rock in particular just feels like a genre that's not appreciated enough. And we really wanted to delve into that. Like I
I
love
agree.
a song. Yeah, it's just got all of the attitude of a rock song. The vocals are there, but the rhythm section is keeping it tight and movable. And I like that. I've always liked that. I just think it's a great combo. It's just meant to be.
I love that, man. When you guys write, what's it like for the two of you to, I mean, being twins, being brothers, being family, being blood? What is that like writing? Is one more dominant, or is it like one comes up with an idea and the other one turns around and says, I was actually just thinking that?
Sometimes you have that kind of sixth sense thing going on. It's definitely a case of one of us will have something going. We've got a home studio, so we're constantly just writing, recording, and then usually it's the other person walking in the room and going, "That, let's work on that." Because sometimes you're working on it, you don't necessarily know if it's great because you're so caught up in it. That's why it's great to have the two of us because we can kind of come in and go, "Okay, let's keep working on that one. That's special."
No,
Yeah.
you mentioned you had a home studio. Did you have this home studio before the pandemic or during the pandemic?
The whole thing, since two words is recorded at home as well, all of this stuff that we've been doing is at home. Yeah.
Then you were one of the lucky ones, man, because we were all scrambling to try to put stuff together. How did the pandemic affect what was going on with you guys? Because, like, what was going on before? What were the plans? And then once the pandemic hit, what happened? Did you, like a lot of us, we were derailed?
Yeah, it's kind of wild for us because we almost had, I hate to say, but a great experience because our numbers and everything just started skyrocketing right around we moved to Calgary in with a friend, brought our studio there and started recording our album. And right around that time is when all of our streaming numbers started going up and we started doing really well. And so we we actually had a decent time during that period where we were just writing, recording, and it didn't really change much. Of course, other than social life, which took a huge plummet. But the music was not bad.
Well, you know what, man? I'm glad to hear that. It's kind of funny. I actually got more hosting gigs during the pandemic than after. It just
Yeah.
works out that way. But when you guys got out of all of this, um, I mean, what were your thoughts on creating new music? You're just talking about an album. What were the thoughts of getting back on the road and things like that?
The biggest things, we haven't played live in a long time. Although funny enough, tonight is our first live show in a long time. We're
Oh,
playing in our
congrats, man.
hometown. So excited about that. We're going to be playing a lot more live shows. We're hoping to get over to the UK sometime in the fall, and then eventually down to the States. We'll see. And then yeah, we're kind of the plan was to release an album, but just the way streaming works these days, I think what we're going to do is break it in two, and we're going to have an A side EP coming out pretty soon here in the fall, and then a B side EP coming out next year.
Okay, but you released an EP in 2019, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What was that called, man? And what was that about?
That was just before the pandemic though. So that was
Right.
sort of that was called the Heard It All Before EP, and that was sort of our attempt. It's interesting when you're writing. That was our first attempt at really writing something cohesive, and I really like all the songs on that EP, but I don't necessarily know if they work well together. It's that funny thing of trying to find your sound and solidify it. That's one of the reasons that I'm really excited about the new stuff we've been working on, because I feel like we're just tightening up what it means to be retrophile and what is distinctive about us. Um, but yeah, the Heard All Before EP was a lot of fun to make as well.
I want to jump ahead now, man. I want to get into In Stereo. What was the inspiration behind that, man?
It's that dance rock thing I was talking about. It's really
Yeah.
trying to land on the biggest thing with this song was how do you do a groovy verse that kind of grabs the listener and feels like it's a dance track, and then the chorus opens up to something anthemic rock. And that's something I've always wanted to make work, but it sounds like it'd be easy, but it's this weird thing. We spent like 3 months mixing it and going back and forth, re-recording stuff and trying to make that transition play well. I think we finally got it right, but yeah, it's one of those things we've always wanted to make work.
I want to go in a little bit deeper, because I always think about Barry Gibb when he talked about writing Jive Talking and how he was on the road, on the highway and on a bridge, and he was doing that and created that song. Did you have a similar experience with this song? Not saying you drove over a bridge or whatever, but
Yeah.
like, where were you when you're sitting there going, hmm, hmm, hmm?
Yes, I get it's sometimes you're just with that one it was definitely a studio piece where you're just sort of you've got a general. I think the chorus came first, and then you're sort of working back from there and go, there's your high point. Now, how do we get there in a satisfying way? Because I always like a song to progress. I don't like these songs that stay static the whole way through. I want it to climax. I want it to kind of go up and down. So finding ways to make that work and be musically interesting.
Wow. Well, like I said, man, it is a great track. And you kind of mentioned before about the last time you were here in Toronto. I do believe you're coming back to
Yeah.
Toronto. And if you want to explain to the folks why you coming back to Toronto, man.
Yeah, really exciting. We're heading down for Canada Music Week or Canadian Music Week. That'll be in June, and we finally got a date. It's
June
going to
5th to
be
10th.
June the 11th. Really excited, and we're one of the last people playing that night. It's like 11 o'clock, so closing out that week, it'll be a lot of fun. We're going to be in town for the whole week because why not? But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Really
Well,
looking forward
looking
to that.
forward to it too. I'm actually the host of CMW Virtual Voices. And most likely I'm going to be hosting in some of the ballrooms or whatever. So I will be looking for you guys and hopefully get a chance to meet in person, say hello, maybe even be able to do a quick interview or something like that, man. Who knows? What's your set going to be like?
I think probably similar to what we're doing here tonight.
Mhm.
Maybe a little bit more pared down just because of bringing gear down there, but we'll see. I want to make it as big as possible. I've seen the venue we're playing at, and it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun there.
What's the venue?
It's called what was it? Bar Cathedral, I believe it's
Oh, yeah,
called.
yeah.
Yeah,
You're going to have fun with that, man.
yeah.
Definitely. And other shows coming up in the future for the rest of the summer?
Hoping to do Calgary in July sometime, and then couple festivals we're waiting on responses for in the fall, and then, like I said, we're just in the talks of planning something for the UK in, like, September, October, which I think would be a lot
Oh,
of fun.
have you
Yeah.
guys been to UK before? Curious?
No. No. I've
They're
never been to
going
Europe,
to
but,
they're going to love you. Your style and them. UK, Europe is perfect. Man, you're gonna tear it up. I cannot wait. What a way to represent the great Canadian red and white over there with this style of music, man. Look, brother, I'm gonna let you go. I want to say thank you so much for doing this interview with me. Please say hello to your brother for me too. Cannot wait to have you guys down here representing and being part of Canadian Music Week. Great stuff on the music, and looking forward to everything you're doing in the future, man.
right on. Thanks for talking to me.